It's another episode of The Next Fix. Today we've got Stanley Bronstein. And so I was telling Stanley about how I just lightly looked at his life story, and this gentleman is no stranger to those dark nights of the soul, I imagine. I used the word rock bottom, and he chose to use some other ways to describe it. But first, I want to welcome you to the show, Stanley. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Sure. Now, he just said that he's done a ton of these, right? So I feel confident that we're going to rock and roll here. Like what we want to dig into first and foremost in this show, Stanley, is we want to know, when did the shit hit the fan for you? When was it like, when you said in your own words, when were you fed up? Like, what did it look like for you when it was the darkest?
Well, like I imagine many of your guests and many of your listeners, the shit hit the fan more than once.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The first time the shit hit the fan was when my mother died when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
I turned stone cold.
How do you mean stone cold? Like
I didn't cry. I didn't cry emotionally. I did not cry.
Okay.
I did not cry when I found out. I did not cry, at her funeral. I didn't cry after the funeral. I didn't cry. Did not cry. So there was trauma there and damage there and healing that needed to be done that did not get done at the time. And, but it got healed later, and I'll tell you about that. But so here I am. I'm living with my massively obese father. Good man, 5th grade education. All he knew was hard work, provide for his family, and make sure I went to school every day and got my work done so I could live a better life than he had. He knew all those things, but he, didn't know anything about nutrition, anything like that. And so just literally, we both ate ourselves into oblivion.
Okay.
I started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I guess you could say my addiction started when I was 8 years old.
I mean, that started when you were 8, right? So
yeah.
So 8, you lose your mother, and I imagine you're not coping with it all that great, even though you're 8 years old.
I didn't cry. I don't think I coped at all.
Sure. And then your father, he's massively obese, in your words, right? So he's got something kind of flipping on that switch to pick up that bag of chips again. And so now the both of you are on the same page. You're not. Yeah. I'm imagining, and forgive me if I'm painting the wrong picture, but it's like the two of you not talking and just shoving your face full of food to.
Well, no, we talk. I mean, we talked, but we ate.
Right. Okay.
We talked. I mean, we talked all the time.
Sure.
That was not the issue, but we didn't. Food was our friend. Food was our lover.
Right.
And I
never let you down. It never let you down. It was always there.
Yeah, never let me down except for when it made me feel like shit afterwards.
Right.
So here I am. I'm getting big, start getting bigger and bigger. A lot of men say, hey, I weigh the same thing I weighed when I got married. Well, guess what? I weigh less than I did when I was 13 years old.
Man.
And I found some pictures to prove it. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a sick thing or both, but it's the truth. So anyway, so getting bigger and bigger, it affected my relationships. In high school, I had women were friends, but they didn't want to date me.
Now, how much weight are we talking about, Stanley? Like, what are we saying here? Like,
I think I don't remember exactly, but I think by the time I went off to college, I was probably at least 225, 250.
Wow. Okay.
At least. And I'm only 5'7".
Okay.
And later on in college, before I graduated, I got up to about 275. Then my senior year, I lost about 75 pounds or so, got down close to 200. But then I went on a driving trip with my best friend, and he had cookies in the back seat, and the cookies became my friend, and it set me right back on the path that I was going on. So looking at it in retrospect, there's a lesson to be learned from that, which I'm going to share with you right now. We're going to talk about this again. Temporary change is going to give you temporary results. Permanent change is going to give you permanent results. I changed my eating habits, and I got results. And the minute I went back to my old habits, weight came back on plus more.
Okay.
By the time I was 28, fast forward to when I was 28, I'm working with one of my older brothers. By the time I got there, I was probably more like 367 pounds, more like this picture on the left.
367.
Yeah, big boy.
Wow. Okay.
Big dude. I think I had like a 57, 58-inch waist.
So now in the midst of that, like what's on your radar? Like, are you just thinking, oh, are you, one of those, I'm just big boned, or do you know you have an issue?
No, okay. Okay. That's a good question. All along, I knew it.
Okay.
I knew it. I knew it. And plus, people told me to remind me. When when you're in elementary school and the other kids throw you on the ground at recess and dance around you saying, whale on the beach, whale on the beach, you're
Wow.
fat.
Right.
I knew it. I wasn't stupid. I just was foolish. There's a difference. So, 28, I maxed out at about 28, 29. I maxed out around 367 or somewhere around there. I got in an argument with my older brother I was working with. And in the middle of the argument, he says, you ought to go to law school. And mind you, I was already a CPA at the time. I had become a CPA. That's what I went to college for. See, I was all mind. I was out of whack. Everything was mind, focused on my mind. Training, education, all that mind, no body, except for the eating. So my brother says, you ought to go to law school. And I turned and looked at him and I said, you're absolutely right. And showed him. So took the LSAT. 4 months later, I was in law school. I went at nighttime, part-time, so it took me 4 years instead of 3. But I became a lawyer. Totally changed my life. So the lesson to be learned from there is you could be arguing with someone who's totally full of shit, but you should be listening to what they say because some words of wisdom may accidentally come out of their mouth.
Sure.
He said it, and fortunately I listened, and thank you, bro. You did change my life.
Now, when he said it, that phrase, if you're in the middle of an argument, was he trying to hurt you? Or was he like, is that how
he that's just his style.
Okay.
He's an in your face. I mean, like, I'll share a story with you. After I became a lawyer, several years later, I got board certified in law. And I told him I passed the test to get board certified. He said, oh, I guess you're a real lawyer now. And my response was, well, I guess you're a real asshole now. That's the kind of relationship we had. And that's just the way it is. So in law school, before I graduated, I maxed out at my 367, which is what you saw in the picture.
367. That's the top.
That's the top.
Now you've shown that you can figure things out clearly because you've gone through school. It's not as if you are unable to solve problems. And there's just this lingering issue of you being obese.
We're going to get into that a little bit later. I'm going to tell you what changed. We'll get into that. But yes, you're correct. So my last year in law school, once again, I lost weight. I don't know what it is about final years, but I joined Weight Watchers and I actually lost 100 pounds. I got my 100-pound ribbon. But I didn't learn good eating habits there. All I learned was portion control. I was still eating crap, but I learned portion control. And one of the things I learned from there, I was eating a lot of those Weight Watchers dinners, the frozen entrees with the pretty picture on the box. I didn't know better. They were loaded with sodium and everything else, but I was losing weight. And I had a habit at the time. I would wake up in the middle of the night. Here's an addiction. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would eat a full meal in the middle of the night.
Right. As a
full
snack.
Meal. It was like not a snack, a full-blown meal.
But it was a snack for you. This is like, you're like, oh, I'll just have a bite. But it was like, boom, whole meal.
No, it was a full-blown meal, and I knew it was a full-blown meal. Okay. So, I didn't bullshit myself. I knew what I was doing. I didn't act on it. I didn't change. I didn't, and we're going to get to that. So I lost 100 pounds in Weight Watchers, but the changes I made didn't stick because most of them were temporary, but there was one permanent change I made. I solved the problem of eating in the middle of the night. And when I did that, and this is going to apply to all your addictions, you're going to love this when I tell you this. I would wake up, I'd go to the freezer, I'd pull out one of those entrees, I would look at the picture on the box, I would focus on the picture of the box, I'd say, I know exactly what that tastes like because I've eaten a zillion of these. That was good. And I'd put it, and I'd rub my stomach and I'd put it back in the freezer and go back to sleep.
Okay.
So that was a permanent change I made. So remember, temporary change, temporary results, permanent change, permanent results. that one permanent change resulted in a permanent 47-pound weight loss. Because later on, when I hit my breaking point, I was only 320. I didn't go all the way back to 367. So
I
that
want to
change,
know, Stanley, I want to know, because the permanent change was that you didn't eat in the
I
middle of
stopped
the night.
eating a meal in the middle of the night.
But where did you get the methodology? Like, where did you?
I just came up with it. I just came up with it.
Right.
Yes, but there's see, I'm a systems thinker. When I figure something out, I analyze it and then I incorporate it into a system. And this is all going somewhere. So where that applies to anyone listening, if you're an alcoholic, you don't have to put the alcohol down your throat to experience it. You can look at it, imagine what it tastes like, imagine what it feels like, and not drink it. If you're addicted to cigarettes, I told someone this to cigarettes, you can pull the cigarette out of the pack, you can look at it, you can inhale, you can say, I know exactly what it feels like to smoke that cigarette, I know exactly what it tastes like, and then put it back in the pack.
Sure.
So you don't have to put something in your mouth to taste it. It doesn't, you don't have to, let's make it more general. The substance you're addicted to does not have to enter your body in order for you to get the pleasure that it used to give you. Does that make sense?
Well, no, it totally does. Because I've actually, the difference between the mental addiction, but that being separated from the dependency, I feel like is another.
Yeah, there is a difference. I mean, somebody's trying to get off heroin. The body's, it's not as easy to get off heroin as it is to get off eating food. Yeah,
right.
I get
but
that.
I get your point, because if you interrupt that pattern and you can break that mental element of it, then your chances of breaking the physical dependency goes higher.
While you're talking about mental, what I have learned about most addictions, not all, most addictions, getting over it is 90% between your ears.
Yeah.
It is. Now, something like heroin, it's more, I'd say it's 90% physical. You're literally addicted to it. But so I started I got down small enough to where women started getting interested in me. But along the way,
isn't that a milestone? That's a real milestone.
Yeah.
That's a real freaking milestone.
But I was still pretty big, 250, 260.
Right.
But there's one little hiccup that came in the middle, part of the healing journey. Life sometimes presents you with an unexpected opportunity to heal. Here it comes. Probably about 28 years or so after my mother died, and I was already a lawyer. I graduated law school. One of my aunts died, one of my mother's sisters. And I went to the funeral and I walked into the cemetery. And what did I see in front of me at the cemetery? I saw a 9-year-old boy and a 6-year-old boy, cousins of mine, who I had never met, and this was their grandmother who died. The 9-year-old was crying like crazy. The 6-year-old was standing by himself, and he was stone cold, not crying, and he had a look on his face like he was dumbfounded. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
I care to guess what I did?
Did you go stone cold? I don't know which way.
No. I went over to the kid and I said, I know exactly how you feel. I felt exactly the same way when my mother died when I was around your age. I didn't know what to feel. I couldn't cry. I said, well, it's okay for you to cry. And I put my arms around him and I did not let go until he started crying. And all the tears that did not come out at my mother's funeral came out at that funeral. Big time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But the story gets better about how I want to show you how raw of an experience that was for me. There was an older gentleman at the cemetery, at the funeral, who was Orthodox. And he didn't believe that children should be at funerals.
Interesting.
Orthodox Jews don't believe children should be in funerals.
Okay.
They don't think children belong in cemeteries. I happen to disagree with that, which you're about to hear. But he says, what are these kids doing here in this cemetery? Kids don't belong in funerals. And this was in front of probably 20 or 30 people. He said that. Well, I snapped. One of the few times in my life where I snapped. I turned around and I said, that was their grandmother. If there's anybody who belongs at this funeral, it's those two kids. And if there's anybody who doesn't belong at this funeral, it's you son of a bitch. You can get out of here right now. I called him a son of a bitch at a
Yeah.
funeral with other people around.
Right.
Well, I snapped. Needless to say, he shut up. He didn't say another word. So not only did I,
Who was he to your aunt? Like,
some
how was?
family friend or something, I think.
Oh, okay. So he
But
wasn't even. It was.
yeah, I'm not sure. I think somebody she might have grown up with. But so not only did life give me the opportunity to literally hug my inner child,
Right.
talk him through the thing, literally do it. Not only did life give me that, life gave me the opportunity to stand up for him.
Yeah.
So it was even better. So I did that. Then I'm out of law school and that. I'm start dating. Eventually wound up getting married and still married to her. And we moved to Arizona. I formed my own legal and accounting office, and I started gaining more weight and more weight and more weight and more weight. I got up to 320. Not my full 367, because remember, I made a permanent change. I stopped eating meals late at night. That was good for 47 pounds. So I am 4 months before my 50th birthday. This is the moment. I was not at rock bottom. I wasn't. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because I happen to believe you don't have to hit rock bottom to change your life. I do, and I'm going to tell you why. But I asked myself, as a lot of men do when they're getting ready to hit a milestone age, and women too, where am I going to be in 5 years if I keep doing what I'm doing? Care to guess what the answer was?
In a grave.
Dead.
Yeah.
And guess what? I didn't want to be dead. So I said, okay. And this again is where a permanent change took place. I said, I need to start making some changes in my life right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Now, mind you, this was February 1st, 2009. I just celebrated my 17th rebirth day 5 days ago. I call that day my rebirth day, and I celebrate it every year by walking a marathon. But anyway, a positive addiction. So I am, and we're going to get into that too. So turned to my wife and I said, I'm going to start eating better right now. I'm going to learn to eat better right now. I'm going to start trying to exercise right now every day if my body can handle it. And my exercise of choice is going to be walking. I picked walking because I felt like you didn't need a lot of special equipment. You could do it almost anywhere, anytime, and it would beat my body up less than other stuff.
It's a fair observation. I mean, that's the truth. And you've got to put that into consideration if you want to keep this thing going, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I said, I'm going to make and I told her, I said, I'm going on a journey. Here's the moment of healthy selfishness coming up. I said to her, I'm about to make some changes. I'm going on a journey. These are changes I have to make or I'm going to be dead. You might like them and you might not like them. And if you don't like them, I don't care. If you don't like what I'm doing, there's the door. You can walk out right now. Now, with all that said and done, I'm going on a journey and I hope you stay, but I don't care if you walk out because I have to do this or I'm going to be dead. That's the moment of real, that's not the first time I told myself that, but there's a change coming up. First of all, we're still married. That's the spoiler alert. So anyway, she stuck with me. But what changed was I took action.
right.
I told myself the truth. I stopped bullshitting myself. And then I took action on what I told myself. And the action was permanent action. Now, mind you, not perfect action.
And
I made
very good.
I made mistakes. Mistakes are proof you're trying. I made mistakes along the way, believe me. But I realized something. The goal is not perfection. The goal is excellence. Anyone listening, you are a human being. You are going to mess up sometimes. You're going to make mistakes. If you are battling an addiction, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days in the beginning. That's okay, as long as you don't quit.
Right. Oh, that's, biblically, there's fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Get up 8, yeah.
It's a big deal for me. It's very
Now, I'm going to tell you.
It doesn't matter what the number is. It's just as long as the last one is that you're up.
You're up. Yeah, you're right. Now, here's my role model, my favorite role model. This is my favorite animal, the snail. steady, diligent, persistent, gets where it's going no matter how long it takes. That's what I became. I literally became the snail. Now, so I said, I'm going to start eating better now. So I said, I decided I was going to start making 3 choices. And the first one is of interest to you. I quit drinking scotch. I don't necessarily think I was an alcoholic, but I was drinking scotch every day. So maybe there's a little denial there. I was drinking scotch every day, and I was definitely drinking too much. And I was serving the alcohol. It was not serving me. So I said, no more.
Say that again. You were serving the alcohol.
I was serving the alcohol. It was not serving me. And you're welcome to use that with other addictions, with other people. I do not hold the trademark to that phrase. It's true though. I tell them times I go, is what you're doing serving you or not? Or are you serving it? I got a friend down the street. He wanted to quit drinking beer. I said, okay, when you put that beer in front of you, ask yourself, is that beer serving you? If it is, drink it and enjoy it. If the answer is you're serving that beer, don't drink it.
Right.
So what I did when I decided I'm not going to drink, I took my last bottle of scotch. I went to the toilet. I poured it down the toilet, hit flush. Okay. I haven't had a drink in 17 years. And believe me, I don't miss it. And it makes going to parties much more interesting when you're the only sober one there.
Right. So that's
you know that. Yeah, 17 years.
And that alcohol, I mean, along with your specific goals, right? Like you're trying to not be fat as hell, right? And that people underestimate how booze will make you fat. Like it will.
Oh, sure it will.
Yeah.
So it make stupid choices, and it's just empty calories. So especially if you're getting no physical activity.
Right.
So that was the first change I made. The second change was those 2-liter bottles of soda pop.
Oh,
I was drinking 3 of those a day.
Good God.
Yeah, it took a lot of work to get as big as I was. Anyway, so
good God, man.
Well, hang on a minute.
A lot.
But but they were diet and caffeine free, so surely they were healthy, right? No.
Tough. That is tough.
So I took my last Diet Pepsi caffeine free. I went to the toilet, poured it down the toilet, hit flush. I'm a big believer in symbolism.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I did that. Gone. And then the last thing I did was I said, I need to start eating healthier. So what came to mind was I'm going to quit eating red meat, beef and pork. And I like chicken. I like chicken and turkey. So I figured it was no big deal. I would just stop eating beef and pork. Chicken and turkey are probably healthier. And that in and of itself was an accomplishment because my father was a butcher and I grew up in a house with unlimited free meat. So to give up beef and pork, that was interesting, but I did. And I started walking a little bit at a time. And
how much did you start off with? You said a little bit at a time.
When I started out walking, I started off in the pool. Because I would walk up and down the lanes because it didn't beat my body up as much. And I started out walking, I built up to an hour. Then I did 2 hours, then 3 hours. And my goal was that I wanted to do a 5-hour pool walk on my 50th birthday.
Yeah, that's going to be some wrinkly toes, brother.
That's okay. It was more like the itching from all the chlorine in the pool. It wasn't the wrinkles. But what I learned,
the 3 hours, knocked it out.
Yeah, well, hang on. What I learned was Castile soap. If you take a bath with Castile soap, it gets rid of the itching. So anyway, by my 50th birthday, I had lost like 50 pounds, and I did a 5-hour pool walk. And here's the funny part. I went to my wife sent me to a resort for my 50th birthday. It's 2 hours away from here. It's known for fitness. It's called Canyon Ranch in Tucson. Don't know if you've ever heard of it. And they help people with a lot of addictions, but I didn't go there for that. I just went there and I called them ahead of time and I said, I want access to your pool in the middle of the night because during the day you've got other people using it and I'm going to get in their way. So I need to be walking in the middle of the night. That's when I was going to the gym doing it in the middle of the night. So I got in the habit of exercising in the middle of the night, which I still do to this day. And so they'd unlock the pool for me and I'd go there at 2:00 in the morning under the moon and I'd sit there and I'd walk. So that was not the first time I'd been to this place, Canyon Ranch. When I went there before, there was always one person who was known as the fitness fanatic, and they were known for something. And it was always some cute looking girl or something who was known as, she's the one who does this. She's the one who does that. Well, guess what? When I was there for a week, people started calling me the 5-hour pool walk guy. And I became, they go, are you the 5-hour pool walk guy? And I said, yeah. And all the medical professionals there told me when I'm exercising wrong. They said, you're going too slowly. You don't need to do it for 5 hours. You know, you're not going to lose weight. Your blood pressure's not going to go down. None of that's going down. Well, I got news for you. I've been doing that for 17 years. My blood pressure is 90/55.
Yeah.
And I weigh 145 pounds. Screw you, medical professionals who told me I was doing it the wrong way. And I walk a ton, but I only walk at 2.25 miles an hour.
That's why you're the snail, brother.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
but I walk for hours. So anyway, so I don't stop. I mean, I'll give you an example. They tell you try to walk 10,000 steps a day. Here's my step count for today so far.
What do you got there? What is that? 41,000? God, and it's
it's
15, early.
That's 15.5 miles. That's what I'm doing. I went from a guy who could only walk 2 or 3 blocks to a guy who has been for the last 14 months, I have walked a half marathon or more every day. Every day.
Impressive, man. A half marathon every day.
Now look at this. This is how much walking I did last year. 5,100.
You've got like a little diagram. What is this?
Yes.
5,000 miles, 56 miles.
Yes. Now imagine I started in Los Angeles, came within 300 miles of London.
Right.
I ended up in the middle of the Atlantic, so it's a good thing I know how to swim.
Right.
But and this year I want to make it to London, and I know I can do it because I've done it before.
Now, what do you go over in your book, Stanley? Like, what are you go over change, your life coach and all this stuff? Now,
okay, let me tell you about that. I've always been a systems thinker. I'm an attorney and a CPA. My whole career, I've been paid to take complicated things and make them simple. So as I was doing this, I said, I need to put this into a system. So right in the beginning, I said, the goal is perfection. It's not perfection, it's excellence. That's the first thing I realized. Don't know how I came up with that, but I did. So the system I created, I called it the way of excellence. And all this stuff is on the way of excellence.
So that's all right. So that's what you got on your wall there.
Yes. And it's all on the website. This is a big chart of it.
Oh, okay.
But 5 foot wide. But anyway, if you notice, look how everything's color coded, nice and neat. Everything lines up. You can tell I'm anal.
Right.
But that's the CPA part of it. So, very much a systems thinker. So I said, what are the qualities of an excellent human being? I started out with 14. Then I quickly added a 15th, and then I added a 16th, and then I added 4 more and made it 20.
So that's 20 traits of an excellent human being.
Yes, and I can go over them very quickly, and 4 of the last 5 tie in with whether or not you're going to be successful in overcoming your addiction.
Okay. So say that one more time. So out of the 20 traits that you've declared, right, you found these 20 traits that make up an excellent human being. Your point is that the last 4 are imperative for overcoming an addiction.
Well, yes, but let me clarify that. The first ones are all imperative as well, but the first one of the final 4 is willingness. If you're not willing to do what you're doing for the rest of your life, you're going to fail.
Sure.
So in other words, if you don't do those final 4 things, everything I tell you before that doesn't mean a damn thing.
Sure.
Because you're not going to succeed permanently. You might succeed temporarily, but you're not going to succeed permanently. Let me run through this real quick. I mean, if we have time.
Yeah.
First one is you stop bullshitting yourself. Tell it like it is. And then take action on that. That was what I did that day, February 1st, 2009. Second thing is realize this is a long game you're playing. It's not, you don't go on a diet for a month and change everything, go back to your old habits. You don't quit drinking for a month and then go back to drinking thinking you're going to be better. You don't quit smoking cigarettes for a month. Any addiction. If you want to get over the addiction, it needs to go down the toilet and hit flush and be gone. When you have an addictive personality, as I do, and as I think you told me you did, probably still do, but just different addictions.
Oh, yeah.
Abstinence is better than moderation. Could I go drink a Diet Pepsi right now? Absolutely. I have no doubt in my mind that if I drank one, I would not backslide. But I have no business doing it and no desire to do it. Could I drink a shot of scotch right now and not backslide? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could. But I have no business doing it. None. And I don't want to.
All right.
Can I go?
That's 3?
Yeah, it's done. It's done. As I tell people, I've already had my lifetime share of scotch and yours and probably 20 other people's. I don't need more. I've already had my lifetime share of Diet Pepsi and yours and 20 other people's. I don't need more. It's time for some new experiences. I've had my lifetime share of donuts and cake and pies, and all that stuff, all that good stuff. So it's a long-term game you're playing. And I have a book, one of my 8 books on my website. First of all my books on my website are free. And the reason why you can download them digitally for free. And the reason why I make them free is because it is my way of giving back. I am grateful for the life I have. And I am at a place in my life where I can do that. The mission, don't get me wrong, I love money. If you want to hire me privately, to work with you privately, you're more than happy to do that. And I'd love to work with you. But if you don't have the money or you don't want to spend the money, you can go download the books. You can watch the videos on my website. They're all free. Get started, baby. It's all there. Everything I'm about to tell you is all there. So one of the books is called The Way of the Long Term, where you talk about learning to create a long-term mindset. This is that identity shift thing. These are what made the person on the left turn into the person on the right.
Yeah.
So long-term. Okay. Then stop blaming. Take personal responsibility. I didn't blame my mother for dying when I was 8. I had anger for many years that she didn't tell me ahead of time that she was dying. But if you think about it, how hard is it for a 48-year-old woman to tell her 8-year-old son, I'm getting ready to die?
Yeah.
So I've cut her a little bit of slack on that one.
Right. Yeah.
I don't blame my father for not teaching me how to eat properly and letting me eat, all this food. I don't blame him for it. He didn't know any better. It is what it is. I don't blame myself for doing what I did to myself. Blame is irrelevant. Blame does not fix the problem. All that matters is, what do you need to do to fix the problem, and are you going to do it? If you need to quit drinking, are you going to do it? I don't care about them. You don't need to beat yourself up upside the head. You screwed up big time. Stop screwing up. Stop screwing up.
Hey, I'm with you. I like the future-oriented mindset, man.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not one to cry over spilt milk.
Okay. Now, embrace change. Stop fearing it, embracing it. That's number 4. 5, focus on the positive. Stop focusing on the negative, focus on the positive. 6, change your perspective. All these things I just told you you have to do, you don't have to do a damn thing. You're alive, you're breathing, you get to do it. It is your privilege to do it. One word that makes all the difference. Change your life with one word. Stop saying have to, start saying get to. I get to walk every day. I get to eat healthy every day. I'm alive. My brother, who died at the age of 60, massively obese, he doesn't get to do any of these things. He's gone. If you have any friends who died or whatever, they don't get to do this. You can't. It's not too late. 7, vision. Envision a bold future for yourself. And not only do I envision a bold, bright future for myself, my goal is to help millions of people lose weight in a healthy manner without drugs or surgery. That's my goal. How's that for a big, hairy goal?
Big audacious goal, baby.
Yeah. Why not? I have nothing better to do. I'm going to live a long, healthy life. Gives me something to do while I'm living. Okay. Now, another one. You've heard of the law of attraction? Well, this is the opposite. Law of reciprocity. Start giving, baby. Give to people. Learn to give. Give back. That's why I'm giving you those books for free. Giving you the videos for free. I want you to change your life. I want you to get better. And the biggest compliment you can pay to me is to go to the bottom of the website and click the button that says contact Stanley and send me an email that says, brother, you changed my life. Thank you. And there was no money involved, but that makes me feel good.
Right.
And that's part of this. It does, so and then time, energy, and resources. How are you using your time, energy, and resources? Are you wasting time or not? Start, even if it's just 15 minutes, start devoting 15 minutes a day to yourself, to your project, to building yourself, to creating what you want, creating the life you want. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care if you've got a sick person you're caring for, whatever. You can find 15 minutes a day somewhere.
Right. And I agree with you.
And if you can find more than 15 minutes, do that too. That's good. Next, take consistent action. It's number 10. I used to tell myself for years that I wanted to lose weight and get healthy. And then I'd go to Chinese buffets and sit on my ass. Is that going to get me skinny and healthy? No. The actions I took were not consistent with my stated goals. When I started,
you mean consistent with your new identity, not
with the new identity, with your goal, consistent with your goals.
Right.
Whereas, so that's there. 11, persistence. Never give up, never surrender. You ever seen the movie Galaxy Quest? Never give up, never surrender. It's a science fiction movie. Anyway, but never give up, never surrender. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. I say that all the time too.
Yeah.
Keep going. Your goal is one thing, and I'm trying to here it is. Your goal is to beat yesterday. That's it. That's your goal. You want to be better today than you were yesterday. That's it. And you got to realize that sometimes breaking even or failing, but not failing too badly, or failing and stopping failing, that is beating yesterday. Because the old you would fail and then quit.
Right.
The new you.
Or you pull a lesson out of it, like if you're able to extract something from the challenge, then it's all good. It's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. While you're talking about that, all these experiences I put myself through, would I change some things? Yeah, I would. But do I regret going through what I went through? No, because it was necessary to teach me what I know now and to become the person I am now. And I think the person I am now is kick-ass. It has a positive message to share with others.
Right.
Now, then integrity. Your actions need to have integrity. Integrity, kindness, loyalty, honesty, sincerity. Be a good person. Be the kind of person you want to be even when no one's looking.
Yeah.
Excellent people do that. Okay. And then respect. Okay. I used to complain that I didn't get as much respect as I felt like I deserved. All while I was walking around at 367 pounds. I was outwardly showing people that at some level I didn't respect myself enough to take care of myself. Is it any wonder I didn't get the respect from them I wanted? No. But there's a flip side of this. You may have people you're dealing with who don't deserve your respect. They haven't earned it. They treat you like shit. They don't deserve your respect. Respect them anyway.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because respect for others is a measure of your character, not theirs. Be a good person. Okay. Then win-win thinking. In order for me to win, it doesn't mean you have to lose. I don't have to crush you in order to win. We all can win. Right. And then balance. Creating balance. I learned this in a Tai Chi class. Balance is identifying everything in your life that's deficient and increasing it. Identifying everything in your life that's excessive and decreasing it. That's balance. And what I learned is balance is not something you're going to find. Balance is something you intentionally, consciously create.
Yeah.
I have created an incredibly balanced life for myself. It works. And you have to create it. You get to create it. It is your privilege. Now we're going to get to those 4 things we talked about. Number 16, willingness. If you are not willing to do what it takes for the rest of your hopefully very long, very healthy, very happy life.
Right.
Everything I just told you doesn't mean damn thing because you're not going to succeed.
Right. And you know what? I just had a conversation, Stanley, and it was about a young man who was, not doing well, and he's drinking too much. And somebody asked me, like, well, can you help him? And I said, well, there's one real question I have for you. Are they willing? That's exactly what I said. Are they willing to get
right?
better, or are they just dabbling, or are they
Yeah,
still kind of saying like, oh, well, it's all right if I have a few? I mean, where are they? How willing are they? Because that really makes or breaks the whole thing from the
yeah,
start.
yeah. That's why when somebody goes to recovery, they usually have to go more than once.
Right. Right. You got to
You
get
know,
serious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Number 17, belief. Okay. This experience that I went through. Okay. I've gone from being a person who was 367 to 145, from being a person who could only walk 2 or 3 blocks to a person who has walked 30% of the way to the moon.
Look at this.
70,
Oh, you got it.
almost 72,000 miles over the last 17 years. That is, if you take the Earth at the equator,
Right.
I've gone around it 2.92 times at the equator. And come June or July at my present pace, it'll be 3 times.
And all at what, 2.5 miles an hour?
All 2.25 miles an hour.
2.25 miles.
See, and that's one of the things, we're going to talk about that. I replaced an unhealthy addiction with a healthy addiction. All those exercise people who told me you can get it done in 20 minutes. There's one thing about exercise that they don't realize. When you walk 4, 5, 6 hours a day, you're going to meet some very interesting people. And would you care to guess who the most interesting person you're going to meet is?
Is it yourself?
Yes. Yes, yourself. You learn who you are. You learn what you are.
Right.
All marathon runners know that.
That's a long time with yourself, man. That's a long time.
You meet yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you learn to love yourself. And there are meditative aspects to doing what I do.
Sure.
Massive meditative aspects. You know how much creative thinking I do when I'm on the treadmill? Or
Yeah.
I have a computer hooked up to my treadmill.
Right.
Because I can work while I'm doing that, and I do stuff. And so I went from what I was to what I am. That taught me 2 things and led to a 3rd thing. The first thing it taught me was I am more powerful than I ever imagined. And one of the reasons I walk as much as I do, I haven't hit my limit yet.
Right. Right.
I do it because I can. I mean, I just had my annual physical 3, 4 weeks ago. My blood work numbers, I'll put them against any 30-year-old right now, and they're probably better. I feel like I'm 30, 35, but I wasn't in this good a shape when I was that age. But biologically, I'm 66.
Yeah.
Now, if I am more powerful than I ever imagined, guess what that means for you? It means that you too are more powerful than you ever imagined. I am no more special than you. You are no more special than me. We are all special. You are more powerful than you ever imagined. If you have doubts about whether or not you can tackle, you need to tackle whatever you can face, you can do it, brother, sister, whoever.
Yeah.
You can do it. Believe it. And the 3rd thing it taught me is that once you realize how powerful you are, what are you going to do with that knowledge?
Yeah.
Well, what it did, it made me ask, hey, if I could do all these things that I've done, what else is out there waiting for me to do that I haven't done yet that I should do?
I've got an acronym for belief. I think you'll enjoy it. Is beat every limiting idea and embrace faith.
Yeah.
Right. And it's faith on many levels, but it could include
beat every limiting idea.
Embrace faith.
Embrace faith. That's a good one.
Yeah. And it's a lot to have faith in yourself, because you are clearly an advocate of meeting yourself and discovering yourself through all these different actions that you've taken, consistent actions. I mean, it's outstanding, brother.
Well,
Where we got 2 more.
Yeah, 3 more, but you got 18. Discipline.
Okay. Oh, you don't have 20 on there. Okay.
No, that's the reason. You got discipline.
It's a finale.
20 is separate.
Got it.
You got discipline. And I don't mean punishment. I mean self-discipline. Okay. Identify all your negative habits, break them. Drink too much, gone. Eat too much crap, gone. Sit on my butt all the time, gone. And then replace them with positive habits. Eat healthy food every day, yes. Walk every day, yes. You know, all those things.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Because discipline, to your point, it cannot be set up like a prison. It cannot be like
No.
you have a schedule. It can't be like you're, going to the gulag, to do your time. Like you've got to set it up to where you're set up for success. And it's not always because the willpower may not get you.
That's what I was about to get to.
Right.
Which is motivation doesn't cut it. This is February 6th. How many people joined the gym on January 1 who've quit going by now?
Yeah.
A lot. Motivation gets you started. It's discipline that keeps you going. I mean, I had a million times I was motivated to lose weight. Only one time where I was, two times, disciplined enough to stop eating meals in the middle of the night, and then disciplined enough to make all the remaining changes I needed to make. And to show you how disciplined I've become, I told you I quit eating red meat. Well, 5 years into the process, I quit eating chicken and turkey. I became a vegetarian. And then 5 years after that, I couldn't get my weight below 180 pounds, all while I was walking 10 to 15 miles every day.
Mm.
And I said, I'm doing something wrong. So I quit eating bread. I quit eating butter, cheese, and ice cream. I went vegan. And I lost 50 pounds in like 5 minutes. I mean, I melted.
Right.
And I quit that. So that's how disciplined I've become. But I'm about to tell you how to make discipline easy. You hinted at it and you said it can't be a prison. Here's how you make discipline easy. This is the last of the 4 factors. Commitment. When you become 100% committed to something, it becomes easy. I am 100% committed that no unhealthy food is going to enter my mouth. Week before Christmas, somebody dropped off gourmet cupcakes and cookies. They obviously didn't know my eating habits. And I took them, said thank you. The thought of eating them never entered my mind. The thought of eating one of them never entered my mind. What entered my mind is I am 100% committed to only eating healthy food. The person I am today, the identity I have today, is a person who only puts healthy food in their mouth. So I didn't eat them. I have a neighbor down the street, good friend. She's skinny as a rail, and she loves to eat that stuff. I gave it to her. And she was happy. Everybody was happy. But the thought of eating it didn't enter my mind. Walking. I walk every day. My definition of walking on a day is 2 hours or more every day. Over the last 12 years, I have missed 3 days. And those 3 days, I was pretty darn sick. And that happened 8 years ago. So it's been 8 years since I haven't walked at least 2 hours a day, every day. And mind you, that coincided almost exactly to when I went vegetarian and then later vegan. So I believe the one day time I was sick, it was my body detoxing. Because one thing I learned as I was losing this weight, all the excesses I had were stored in my fat tissue. And as I started losing the weight, all these toxins in my body started coming out and I started experiencing it. All the alcohol I drank, I would have mornings, I'd wake up, I'd have a buzz. When I hadn't had alcohol in years, I'd have a buzz because it was in my fat. And as my body was burning the fat, it came out. And I think those 3 days I was sick, it was my body detoxing from a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me those 3 days would have interrupted my 12-year streak, I would have gotten out. I would have walked anyway on those 3 days. But I would have. That's how determined I was. So I am a person who walks every day. I'm 100% committed to doing that. Every night before I go to sleep, my clothes go on the nightstand next to my bed. I get up in the morning. First thing I do is put on my clothes. Second thing I do is stretch. Third thing I do is either get on the treadmill, go outside and walk if the weather's okay, or I go to the gym. And my sleeping habits are different. I usually go to sleep at 6, 7 o'clock at night. I'll wake up at midnight and I do 4 hours of exercise on the treadmill. I like it quiet. Nobody bothers me. I can get work done. I can think it's amazing. Me time. Then I eat my first meal. Then I take the dogs for a walk. I feed the dogs. I take the dogs for a walk. Then I go back to sleep for an hour and a half or 2 hours. So I sleep in 2 shifts, and man, that second sleep is like gold. I mean, I'll have times, I'll get up at the end of 2 hours, I'll wake up, I'm like, oh, where am I? What's going on? Because it's such a deep sleep. It's really good. I love that second sleep. And
So where are we at? Are we at 20? Yeah, I want the finale. Well,
now comes 20. Okay. 20. Integration of mind, body, and spirit. There's 3 parts here, not 2. You look like the yin yang, mind, body, and spirit. See that little person in the middle? That's where you want to be. You want to be balanced, mind, body, and spirit. Me, when I started out, I was all mind.
Right.
Neglecting my body, and my spirit was suffering. By spirit, I mean the intangible, your energy, your life force, that type of thing. That's what it means to me. It might mean something else to somebody else, but that's going to be. Here's the truth. Your mind feeds your body and your spirit. Your body feeds your mind and your spirit feeds your mind and your body. When you get in balance, they all feed each other and they all work together. That's number 20. That's it. You got the whole system. It's right here on the chart. You can download it. You can download it from my website. Here it is.
So how many books do you have on there, Stanley?
8.
I'm going to put it in print for people so they can click it.
8 with more coming.
8 books with, did you say more or one more coming?
More coming.
More coming.
I'm constantly working. I have all kinds of ideas.
Right.
The way of the last book I just did, The Way of the Long Term, all that was doing is I was elaborating on concept number 2.
Oh, I see. Is that how, are they all kind of like?
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah, yes and no. Another one's The Way of Constant and Never-Ending Improvement, otherwise known as Can I? And the answer is yes, you can. And that elaborates on persistence.
Yep.
But then I have some other books. I have one on there. It's called The Way of AI. It talks about how are we relating to artificial intelligence? And
are these published? I mean, where can people get them?
I have a publishing company, but I did not put these on Amazon.
I see.
The reason why is I'm giving them away for free. I'm not selling them.
I see yeah. Right.
So I didn't do that. And they're digital. So it cost me nothing other than my time to write them. It costs nothing for me to give them to you for free.
Right. Well, I love it, man. You're a full blown creation mode, brother.
Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna put the website there for everybody to connect with you, man. I really want to say thank you, Stanley. I really
You're welcome.
Your time. Yeah.
And wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, whatever your addiction is, you've got this. This is your time. Do it. And I'm telling you, my system will help you, whatever it is, because it gives you a structure to follow. And Ryan's doing great work, doing a good job. Keep it up. Help people. And yes, you are right. You asked the right question. Are you willing? See, I used to think the 3 most important words in the English language were "I love you." They're not. In the English language, it's "Are you willing?" Those are the 3 most important.
A powerful nugget right there at the end, brother.
Those are the 3 most important words in the English language.
Are you willing? And so
if you're not willing, you're not going to get there.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of The Next Fix. See you on the next one, guys.
Thank you, sir.